The year was 1863, and the American Civil War raged across the land. In the midst of this brutal conflict, a peculiar and deadly series of events unfolded in the Smoky Mountains, a tale that would never be officially recorded in the annals of history. Union and Confederate soldiers, sworn enemies, found themselves forced to join forces against a common, otherworldly foe. On a foggy night in the heart of the Smoky Mountains, a Union scouting party moved cautiously through the dense forest. The moon cast a silvery glow, but it did little to pierce the thick canopy overhead. The men, wary of Confederate ambushes, advanced slowly, their senses on high alert. Private James Whittaker led the group, his eyes scanning the shadows. Suddenly, a blood-curdling scream shattered the silence. The men froze, their breaths visible in the cold night air. Whittaker motioned for silence and crept forward, his heart pounding. He found the source of the scream, a young soldier named Thomas, his body mangled and torn. Whittaker's stomach churned at the sight. This was no ordinary attack. As he looked around, he noticed huge footprints leading away from the scene, deeper into the forest. The men retreated to their camp, fear gripping their hearts. Whittaker reported the incident to his commanding officer, who dismissed it as a bear attack. But Whittaker knew better. Bears didn't leave footprints like those. Meanwhile, on the Confederate side, a similar horror unfolded. A group of soldiers, camped near a mountain stream, was attacked in the dead of night. Sergeant William Carter awoke to the sounds of screams and gunfire. He grabbed his rifle and rushed out of his tent, only to find 3 of his men missing, dragged off into the darkness. Massive footprints were the only clues left behind. 2 nights later, the Union and Confederate camps were closer than ever. Unbeknownst to each other, both sides sent patrols to investigate the strange occurrences. Whittaker led the Union patrol, while Carter commanded the Confederate scouts. The 2 groups met in a narrow valley, tensions immediately rising. Guns were drawn, and harsh words were exchanged. But before the situation could escalate, a guttural roar echoed through the valley, silencing the soldiers. From the shadows emerged a creature unlike anything they had ever seen. Standing nearly 9 feet tall, covered in dark, matted fur, with glowing eyes and razor-sharp claws, the beast exuded an aura of primal terror. The soldiers, both Union and Confederate, were momentarily united in their shock and fear. The beast lunged at them with incredible speed. Whittaker and Carter, acting on instinct, yelled for their men to fire. The valley was filled with the deafening roar of muskets, but the creature seemed almost unfazed, swatting aside soldiers like rag dolls. Realizing their bullets had little effect, the soldiers began to retreat. The beast, however, was relentless. It grabbed 2 men, 1 Union and 1 Confederate, and disappeared into the forest. In the aftermath of the attack, Whittaker and Carter's groups found themselves in a tense standoff. The beast had taken their men, and they knew it would return. With no other choice, the 2 leaders called a truce. "We can't fight each other in that thing," Whittaker said, extending a hand. "We need to work together." Carter hesitated, then shook Whittaker's hand. "Agreed. But once this is over, we're enemies again." "Deal," Whittaker replied, though both men knew their priority was survival, not politics. The combined force set up camp in a defensible position, creating a perimeter with sharpened stakes and setting traps. They pooled their resources, combining Union rifles with Confederate know-how. Around a central campfire, the soldiers shared stories of the attacks, each tale more gruesome than the last. Whittaker and Carter devised a plan. They would lure the beast into a trap using fresh meat from their supplies. The hope was to weaken it enough for a concentrated attack to succeed. Night fell, and the forest was eerily quiet. The soldiers waited, nerves on edge, rifles at the ready. The bait was placed in an open clearing, surrounded by hidden sharpshooters. Hours passed, and then, just as the soldiers began to doubt the plan, the beast appeared. It moved cautiously, sniffing the air, its glowing eyes scanning the surroundings. When it finally approached the bait, Whittaker gave the signal. A volley of gunfire erupted, the combined firepower of both armies focused on the beast. It roared in pain and fury, but still it charged. The soldiers held their ground, reloading and firing as fast as they could. The beast reached the first line of stakes and faltered, impaling itself on the sharpened wood. Carter saw his chance and rushed forward with a makeshift spear, driving it into the creature's side. Whitaker joined him, stabbing with a bayonet. The beast thrashed violently, knocking Carter to the ground. Whitaker yelled for the men to keep firing. Bullets tore into the beast from all directions. Finally, with a final, thunderous roar, it collapsed, its life ebbing away. The soldiers stood in stunned silence, staring at the fallen creature. The reality of what they had just faced began to sink in. Whitaker and Carter, bloodied and exhausted, surveyed the scene. "We did it," Whitaker said, hardly believing his own words. "Yeah," Carter replied, breathing heavily. "But at what cost?" They buried their dead, Union and Confederate alike, in a solemn ceremony. The truce held as they worked side by side, the horrors of the night overshadowing their differences. Before parting ways, Whitaker and Carter shook hands once more. "Good luck," Whitaker said. "You too," Carter replied. "Let's hope we never face anything like that again." The battle in the Smoky Mountains was never officially documented. Those who survived spoke of it only in hushed tones, the memories too terrible to relive. The war continued, with Union and Confederate forces resuming their hostilities, but for a brief moment they had been united against a common enemy. The legend of the beast became part of local folklore, a chilling reminder of the mysteries and dangers that lurk in the shadows of the world. And in the hearts of those who fought and survived, the memory of that night would forever serve as a testament to the power of unity in the face of unimaginable terror.